far as plucking versus strumming, plucking is never going to be as powerful as strumming for just reasons of physics, I guess. So partially it's because you're gripping the strings and you're just oscillating in this way and they actually vibrate, whoops, up and down. That's the way strings, you know, tweak a clothesline and watch it go like this. Those clothes will be going up and down. So, and here we are going across when we pluck, more or less. We're not, unless you come under the strings for all this kind of sound, which I don't usually do, forgive me. I don't like that sound as much, but Wes Montgomery with his thumb, when he plucked with his thumb, it's more like a strum because, as best I can tell from studying this thing, he's pushing the string in towards the soundboard, meaning his thumb isn't going across the strings, he's kind of going down and across. Pushes it down, but lets it spring back up real fast since it's naturally going to go up and down anyway. It's like coiled, ready, and you push it down, now it's more coiled, and bam, it just explodes out of there. It's a great way to get that better sound. Here's the Wes sound with across the strings, and then down. Gives a rounder tone, bigger sound. I didn't know how to get that sound for a long time, but my dear friend, the late Emily Remler, I watched her play, and she got that tone when I met her. Talk about male ego taking a dive, you know. I couldn't get that sound. Here's this petite woman from Jersey getting this sound, you know. I watched her, though. Finally got it by accident one day. So, obviously, Wes Montgomery, for me, is a big hero. I just love that guy's playing so much. And he used something that I like to call the companion minor concept. It's all over his playing. There are just seeds of it everywhere, you know, in just all periods of his existence. And it's real simple. You just hear him putting in minor sevens, a fifth higher than dominant sevens. So if the bridge of Rhythm Changes has all these dominant chords, D7, G7, C7, F7, we could put the companion minor chord of each one of those in there somewhere. When I say companion, I'm not looking to make up fancy terms. It's just that these chords are like pairs. The given dominant chord and its associated 5 minor are equal partners. Every chord there is either a D7 or an A minor 7 type. So you'll hear him going. And we're not doing a 2-5, it's just a fluke that those are the same chords as 2-5 of it didn't sound like we're playing that kind of key, you know. It sounded like D was the key. And it's funny in a tune like Rhythm Changes, when you have so much time, 8 beats on each chord, the D7, the G7, etc., then they become like mini keys in that sense. You hear that? Take a glass of water, start to dial a phone number. I mean, it's a long time. So keys are determined by partially how long we're in some spot. So, which brings up an interesting point, at least I hope it's not too boring, which is that American music, you know, and forgive me if you've heard me say this before, but it's not in major minor keys. A lot of it's in a middle area that we'll just call blue tone key. The minimum requirement being pretty much a flat 7 has to be there. So if you hear that's a major key, but if it goes, it's already bluesy. So I'm just in the key of D playing a C instead of a C sharp. So, you know, so much American music has the bluesy cast to it.
I have one question about
Sure.
Wes Montgomery that fascinated me. When you said he did like a 2-5, but it wasn't really a 2-5.
That's right.
How did he, I'm a little confused on how he integrated
Okay,
music into
let's suppose as a young player, because he's mostly self-taught. I mean, I think I read somewhere that he took a couple lessons too, you know, that he sought out some professional help, but I don't think the majority of his stuff was from anything other than exploring the neck and going for the sounds he heard in his head, which turns out is a lot like a full big band at times. I mean, he's imitated different parts of the band. So dominant seventh chord's a big part of that era. So let's say he's studying the fingerboard and he's got G7, make it G7. And he finds all these little forms eventually because he had a really good ear, to say it is. So he's got all these little chords that he's friends with. And one day he hears the big band doing this while guy's soloing, putting the 4 in there instead of the 3 for a moment. And one day he goes home and he finds that note. So, whoops, G7, that's right, with a 4 instead of a 3. Not a sus4 because we didn't prepare it. There's no suspension preparing the note, but it's a 4. And then one day he goes back listening to this recording and he hears them the next verse. They go like that. They put the root up to the 9. Now it's G11, the so-called G11. It's a good name for it. We've got flat 7, 11, 5, and 9 over the root. If you go 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 11, and just leave out 3. 11th chords on that 3. But anyway, he heard that sound. He wasn't much of a technical guy, judging by interviews as far as naming all the fancy schmancy stuff. You know, just didn't go that route, but he heard it. And it turns out that chord that's just extensions of the G7, the 11 and the 9, are a D minor 7 now. I mean, is a D minor 7. That chord is D minor 7. So at some point he put it together that you've got this thing that's not only just the 2-5-1 of the key that's, you know, in a song, but it's when you make that dominant chord that used to be in 5 in Europe and stuff like that, when you make it the 1 of the moment, when you treat it as that it's all that you know, and you put its 5 minor in there with it, you get this effect. So when he'd write a piece, say in G, and he'd go, oh, jeez, Ted. He's not in C, because if you say to yourself or anybody, sing the root, we hear, oh, that's the key. It's G7 is the key. Did you know that a 7th chord could be a key? Yeah. You can wipe out the Rolling Stones if you don't have, I mean, where does that song go? No? I mean, stuff like that. Imagine it with a major 7. Such well-mannered young men, you know. Elvis Presley, you wiped him out. Take the Beatles away, because almost every song they wrote at one point had a flat 7 in the melody instead of a major 7. Other than that, it wouldn't change much. So, you know, it's just, yeah, the 7th chords are keys. They're not just 5s. They really are keys. So you want to play blues in C7, it's not different harmonic language, not blues. Maybe blues influence in the vocal if it's a gospel kind of R&B. But this doesn't, you wouldn't hear that on the radio and say, oh yeah, blues, you know. But if you hear, so if you do that in the key of C, you put a G minor 7, G minor 9, G minor 11, you know, G minor extension, minor 7 and its extensions on it. So if you apply that on each chord in the rhythm changes, you're going to get a little bit of that action here. I better look at this again. Oh yeah. I'll discuss it. It's slowing way down now. Minor 7 flat 5, but it's still minor. Up a 5th, altered chord. But really, it's just a half step into that. Half diminished on the 5, dominant on doing. Yeah, if it were 2/5, it would show itself in so many ways. It sounds like this is the chord of the moment, and then this is the chord of the moment, and this is its companion. Here's C7. The G minor 7's in there with C minor 7 in front of it. If it helps you you prefer to say 2/5ing every 5, if you call every one of those a 5, more power to you if you can do it. I got to where I realized I couldn't easily keep track of which 5 I was on if I called everything a 5. So I went with the 3, 6, 2, 5 bit. It's just easier for my brain to know which of those I'm on. I do say letter names, though, more than numbers as the years go on, because letter names, you can rely on them. You know, they give you an instant what to playness about things compared to the theoretical numbering of things. So when I say numbers in my mind to get through a tune, I'm hoping they instantly translate into letters, because letters are where it's at. I want to know if it's A flat or D flat. A lot of it's the ear, too, to be quite honest. You know, I've survived, luckily, on gigs many times when I've tried a song that I didn't know too well, but knew enough to try, you know, just by, you start to hear everything. We highly recommend that you take up, if you haven't already, the practice of singing all the chords that you love from the top down, because that's what you hear as the leading note. If you take a 9th chord, boom, 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 this note. Whether it's the highest note or not, you just got to really hear the 9th if you're going to be playing a 9th chord. Why does that matter? Why do we have to hear better? Well, geez, so many reasons. One reason is because you want to select all the sounds, of course, that you love at any moment. If you're playing your best, you're pulling out sounds that you love because you choose to. But you can't always have any luck in that area if you can't hear what you're going to play first. It's a slow process. First comes seeing. You know, if you don't know, seeing way precedes hearing on the guitar for most of us. You're going to see the neck. Those kind of lines when you're playing blues or something, you're going to see where the fingers go in various scale forms that you learn. This scale, that's an 8-note altered A7. I couldn't sing that thing if my life depended on it when I first got it, but I could remember how the finger patterns were because they were really easy. They were actually symmetrical. 4, 2, 1, 4, 3, 1. Up a fret. But again, I couldn't sing it backwards or forwards. Now I try to do it, you know. So if you're hearing chords in your mind and you hear that companion minor of the dominant chord, if you've done enough of them, you're going to hear the soprano lines before you choose them. You know, it's just there for you after a while. But the singing will come first. Don't be dismayed, unless you're very lucky, very special with your ear. So I said we tie all this into jazz blues, so I think this is a good time to try to do that.
Ted?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Everybody has a copy of this, and
Yeah, we're going to go to it, I promise.
and then we also have we handed out the standard tune.
Look of Love?
Look of Love. We might be short a few copies. They're still working.
Thanks, John.
Okay.